center stage.
Every week, the India Story will bring the most incisive analysis, the most authoritative voices.
India will be a significant pole in the universe of AI going forward.
India is walking tall, India's stature is different, India's voice is being heard.
And the biggest newsmakers.
This is just a start. Tokyo, we won one bronze. Paris, we won a rocket.
Good to see that, women cricket is getting more excited and everybody is looking up to that.
And these stories need to be told. And they are guided by the compass of their conscience.
From India, for the world, the India Story. The show for the global citizen.
You don't know how.
Hello and welcome. I'm VIKRAM Chandra and you're watching the India Story, the one show aimed at a global audience that tells you what's really happening in India and what everyone is thinking about. And if you know anything about India, let me tell you that there are only two major questions that people are really discussing this week. So in this episode of the India Story, we're going to be taking a look at both of those questions. And what are they? Well, question number one, who is going to be winning in the assembly elections that are coming up in just about a couple of weeks from now? The counting is going to be taking place a couple of weeks from now. So who's winning the assembly elections? And the other question, what does that possibly mean for the big general elections that are due to be held in 2024? So that's question number one. Question number two, and if you know anything about India, this is not a surprise for you. Question number two. Who is going to win the World Cup? And surely it is going to be India. Surely India is going to be beating Australia in the final on Sunday. The third World Cup victory for India. This is one of the best teams that India has had in a long time. This is a team that has won every single match in the run-up to the finals. And surely India will lift the World Cup on Sunday. So that's question number two. And by the way, in case you're wondering, is that really an important question? We're going to be telling you on this show why it is. Mudar Patria and others will be joining us. We'll tell you why cricket is so much in this country, why cricket is a religion in India and the reasons for it. We're going to be discussing that too. But before we turn to those two big questions, let's quickly bring you up to date with the big headlines from India that you should be watching.
India has once again urged Canada to protect places of worship for religious and racial minorities. Speaking at a UN Human Rights Council meeting on November 14th, diplomat Mohammad Hussain emphasized the need for Canada to prevent attacks on these sites and curb the misuse of freedom of expression that incites violence. Hussain also called for stronger measures to address hate crimes and hate speech, underlining India's commitment to promoting global inclusivity and peace. With the relations between New Delhi and Male on edge, Union Minister Kiran Rijiju represented India at the swearing-in ceremony of the new president-elect of Maldives, Mohamed Muizzu. This is in sharp contrast to November 2018, when the Indian Prime Minister flew to Maldives to attend the swearing-in ceremony of Muizzu's predecessor Ibrahim Mohamed Solih. Muizzu's campaign for the presidential poll saw him opposing and promising to reverse Solih's India First policy of treating India as a preferred partner for the Maldives. He vowed to start the process of removing Indian military personnel from the Maldives immediately after taking oath. Around 5,000 people from Myanmar have crossed into Mizoram following an intense gunfighting by the Myanmar army in the bordering areas. Locals breached the international border on November 12th evening after the People's Defence Force attacked two military bases in Chin State and promoted retaliatory airstrikes. The military junta at the helm of the Myanmar government is currently facing its biggest test since taking power in a 2021 coup. Three ethnic minority forces had come together to launch a coordinated offensive in late October across the north. Data from the Mizoram Home Department indicates that there were 31,364 Myanmar nationals living in different parts of Mizoram as of last week. The majority of them live in relief camps. Trinamool Congress has appointed Maua Moitra as the district president of Krishnanagar, which is the constituency she represents in the Lok Sabha. The new role for the TMC parliamentarian comes at a time when the Lok Sabha ethics panel adopted the report recommending her expulsion from the lower house of the parliament in the cash for query case.
Well, let's start now with the question around the assembly elections. And these are important assembly elections because they are treated as a semi-final before the general election in 2024. Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Telangana and Mizoram, all of them, some of those states have already started seeing voting. Final counting will be on the 3rd of December. So, who is going to win and what could that possibly imply for 2024? That's going to be the big question. And let me not try and answer that myself. Let me try and get in the experts who can give you a flavor of what the likely answers to be. We're being joined now by Professor Sanjay Kumar of CSDS. We're also going to be speaking to Sachin Pilot of the Congress Party and Shazia Ilmi of the BJP. But let me start with you, Sanjay Kumar of CSDS. You've been tracking the data, looking at the numbers. You know, everywhere I go, people ask me, who's going to win on the 3rd of December? So let me throw that same question to you. Who's winning?
Vikram, I think on the 3rd of December, all the political parties or the political parties which have a stake in this round of assembly election will have something to, cherish about. When I'm saying that, I think BJP would be winning in a couple of states. Congress will also get victories in a couple of states. And don't forget, there are two regional parties which are very strong. One is the Mizo National Front, the ruling party in Mizoram, that they are likely to retain power in Mizoram. And Telangana, the state in the southern India, where BRS, which is Bharatiya Rashtriya Samiti, it is the ruling party, has been ruling the state for the last 10 years. Yes, there are some discomfort parties facing. Congress is challenging BRS, but my own sense is that BRS is likely to retain power in Telangana. So Congress will have victories in a couple of states. BJP will also have victories in a couple of states. My own sense is that Chhattisgarh, Congress is very comfortable. They should be winning election in Chhattisgarh. And if it comes to Rajasthan, BJP should be winning elections in Rajasthan. The only tricky, in my opinion, is Madhya Pradesh. I think we need to wait and watch, figure out what happens in Madhya Pradesh.
So that's a clear explanation. Let's just go to that one state that you said is still up for grabs and which will presumably decide who's getting the two and who's getting the one as per your own reckoning. What do you think is really the state of play at Madhya Pradesh? Some people say Congress may have a slight edge. You're saying that it's actually completely up in the air?
Yes. My own sense is that it is a very tight contest in Madhya Pradesh. And why do I say that? Because, normally the theory which is being offered or the rationale that Congress is leading is because 18 years of BJP's rule, Shivraj Singh Chauhan has been in power for 18-19 years, so there is bound to be anti-incumbency. I don't see any anti-incumbency against the BJP government in Madhya Pradesh, nor against Shivraj Singh Chauhan. One should not forget that we had chief ministers who have been much longer tenure. Only being in power for 18 states doesn't mean that you're bound to have anti-incumbency. You're bound to become unpopular. We know there are several chief ministers who have a much longer term. Jyoti Basu in West Bengal, in Sikkim, Pawan Chamling in Sikkim, the neighboring state of the Odisha, Navin Patnaik has been in power for such a long time. There are other examples. Tarun Gogoi in Assam, 15 years chief minister. So there are chief ministers who have been in power for very long. So only thinking that there is bound to have some anti-incumbency against Shivraj Singh Chauhan because he has been in power for too long. That's the theory which I don't buy. And based on the surveys which we had conducted long back, a couple of months ago, I don't get a sign of any anti-incumbency against Shivraj Singh Chauhan or against the BJP. Yes, there is an element of what we call fatigue. Fatigue means without any reason. If you ask the voter, there is a tendency, there is a desire that, oh, it's very long for Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Can we think of someone else? But what is the reason? People are not in a position to offer explanation. If you look at why Congress seems to be fighting very strongly, Kamal Nath is very popular, as popular as Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Congress has been present in the state strongly. Congress lost the last election. Not lost. It was a very tight election even in 2018. So I think looking at what is happening on the ground, looking at the leadership, looking at the way parties are campaigning, I still have a sense that it is a tight contest in Madhya Pradesh between BJP and Congress.
So let's just turn to the other states. Rajasthan, for example, where some in the Congress have been happy that the Sachin Pilot and Ashok Gehlot seem to have buried the hatchet between them. But you believe that there is anti-incumbency and therefore that habit in Rajasthan of flipping governments will continue?
Not because there is a habit that every election Rajasthan brings in a new party, in a sense that government changes. Not only because of that, but I think the Congress initiated the schemes very late. Congress is in fight because of the scheme which has been rolled out by Ashok Gehlot's government. But I think it's too late, even though both BJP is not in a very good shape if we look at the leadership. But still, the infighting within the Congress for the last couple of years going on continuously, that has hurt the image of the party. There is anti-incumbency against the sitting MLAs. So I think this is what has pulled down Congress from what it used to be maybe 6 months ago or maybe a couple of years ago. So I think this is the problem with the Congress in Rajasthan.
Let's turn our attention to Chhattisgarh now. Do you think that whatever anti-incumbency there is there, doesn't matter, Bhupesh Baghel is well in the head, and those corruption charges, if anything, are not denting him, might even be giving him a bit of a sympathy factor? At least that's what we seem to be reading in the press.
I think the average governance in Chhattisgarh has been very good if you go by people's opinion, and it is not a thing which has come up during last 6 months or 8 months. Continuously, ever since Bhupesh Baghel became the chief minister, I think he has got appreciation from the people. People are liking his government, and we should not forget that when BJP lost election in 2018, they lost badly. The BJP trailed behind Congress by 9% vote. It was a big loss for BJP, and after that, BJP has not made any sincere effort to come back into electoral race. Raman Singh has been absent from Chhattisgarh politics. All this has benefited the Congress, but it will not be a victory by default. I think it will be a positive vote in favor of Bhupesh Baghel. People like his government, and he is a popular chief minister.
All right, let's turn now to Telangana, where again there seem to be some conflicting views. Some people believe that the Congress has been surging a lot and therefore may well be positioned to surprise everyone out there. Others say that, look, there's been a lot of development in Hyderabad and in Telangana, and therefore the BRS is ahead. What's your assessment of what's playing out in Telangana?
So, Vikram, surprises do come in election. It's not that we have never seen surprises earlier. There have been lots and lots of surprises. But my own sense is that surprise, in my opinion, is going to be to the extent of Congress doing very well, but not to the extent of Congress surpassing BRS, which is the ruling party. Several things adds to BRS popularity, or why I think BRS still remains ahead in the electoral race. One, the schemes, which is applicable to all the ruling party. All the ruling party are rolling out lots and lots of schemes. And these schemes are helping the ruling party in mobilizing votes in its favor. Also, we should not forget that in the last assembly election, BRS not only won election, it won in a big way. The gap between BRS and Congress in the last assembly election was almost 19%. We have hardly seen any election where a party has managed to cover up such a huge gap. My own sense is that Congress will do much better compared to how it performed in 2018, but not to the extent of surpassing BRS or defeating BRS. Also, we should not forget that the leadership is weak in Telangana, from Congress point of view. So they are doing very well. They have they are like performing extremely well. But again, on Telangana, I think Congress will fail to win election in Telangana. That's my view about Telangana.
All right, lastly, let me get your views on Mizoram, where it does seem to be a triangular fight, perhaps for the first time that I can recall in a long, long time. How do you think Mizoram is going to go? Whose votes will the new player be eating into?
Vikram, it becomes very difficult to say with a certain degree, the same degree of confidence as I can talk about other state. A state which is very small. When I say small number of constituencies, small number of voters in each constituency, because the victory and defeat is decided by very small votes. But my own sense is it is a triangular contest. Still, I believe MNF, the ruling party, is ahead in the electoral race. But there are parties. Congress is also doing well compared to the last election. BJP is almost non-present in Mizoram, but it is a close contest. I would still think MNF is the leading party. It may return a hung assembly. We don't know because, as I said, the victory and defeats are decided by very small margin. The margins of victory and defeat is very small. But I would give the benefit of doubt to MNF, and I think MNF is the leading party in Mizoram.
All right, Sanjay, thank you very much for joining us with that perspective. So that's a view from the expert. Now let's check in on the two major political parties which are in the race in these assembly elections, the Congress and the BJP. We have with us Sachin Pilot of the Congress party, Shazia Ilmi, national spokesperson of the BJP, also with us. Well, so let me start off with you, Sachin Pilot, whom I can see you're out there on the campaign trail in Rajasthan. So thank you for joining us from there. What's your own sense of Rajasthan? We keep hearing that this is the one state where the Congress seems to be a bit on the back foot, even if you've made up some ground.
No, I think it's right to assume, because for the last 3 decades, we always had a revolving door policy where 5 years we are in government, then the BJP comes back to power. But I think there's a strong tailwind that we're receiving from Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, because there we are winning handsomely. And Congress, I think this time is set to change the trend of this 5-year turn for each party, Congress and BJP. I'm quite confident that our own party, our work, and also the BJP on the ground in Rajasthan is pretty shaky. A lot of confusion, a lot of disaffection amongst the leaders in Rajasthan. And BJP really has been quite inactive and invisible as the opposition in the last 4.5 years. So all these things lead me to believe that the reaction, the response, the feedback that I've got is that we'll be able to form a government again in Rajasthan on voting day.
Sachin, when it comes to Rajasthan or states like Madhya Pradesh for that matter, one of the major issues that the Congress party is often said to have been facing are clashes between leaders, infighting as it is often called. In this particular election, it's looking as if a lot of that has been put aside, at least for the moment. Would you agree with that view?
It's true. I mean, I think whatever issues one may have had or one has, there's a platform to discuss, talk, and deliberate. And I think everything that personally I brought up are people's issues, whether it's young people's future, issues that I think we had committed ourselves to as a party to the people of Rajasthan, and what sort of course corrections we could have done a couple of years ago. So I'm glad those were considered by the All India Congress Committee, and the leadership in Delhi actually enforced a few of the things I thought were important. And now we have forged, a unity of sorts in the way that people are able to see that here's a party in government that can deliver. And here's BJP, which I think is, the campaign really hasn't taken off, even though people from Delhi are coming in and trying to boost the campaign. But wo dam nahi dikh raha mere ko. I don't think that BJP is able to, capture on any of the things that they wanted to. I don't think in the Congress party there's the issue of leadership, because we are very clear about what the tradition and practice has been, Vikram. That we win the elections first, secure a mandate, and then the MLAs and the leadership decides who will get what responsibility. This is exactly what happened in 2018 when I was the party president, and same thing will happen this time. But first job is to get past the halfway mark to get a mandate, and once we have majority, then we'll take a call as to who will do what jobs.
So you're saying that the leadership question will be secondary to actually first winning the election, which makes sense. But given that anti-incumbency does seem to be an issue in Rajasthan, it's not very clear that that is going to actually happen and that you will be able to win in Rajasthan.
No. I mean, anti-incumbency, thoda bahut I think it's there in every state and every constituency, but largely because of the schemes that we had promised in the 2018 manifesto, we've implemented most of them. We've also proven that we are better in terms of, policy initiatives. Look at the government of India in the last 10 years almost. Look at the inflation, job situation, all sorts of problems people are facing today. And I think people are also now fed up, and there's sort of monotony setting in, same speeches, same rhetoric, same promises and assurances. People want delivery. Don't forget, we won the elections in Himachal Pradesh, which is a BJP ruled state. We won election in Karnataka, where again they were flaunting the double engine Sarkar model. That all has come proper. So I'm confident that this election, with the campaign that we are doing, we will be able to win and get a better mandate than we did last time.
When you look at some of the states that you were referring to, one of the reasons why the Congress party may have been able to win some of them is because they became sort of local elections. The factor of Narendra Modi didn't actually come into it, because especially when it comes to 2024, and we're all starting to already look at this and try and extrapolate to 2024, the fact is in the 2024 elections there will be the Modi factor. It will be a massive factor that will play itself out in the Lok Sabha elections. Are you hoping that the Modi factor will not be a major issue in the state elections?
Well, I think Mr. Modi, of course, is a popular leader. He's the Prime Minister of India, and he campaigns very aggressively, no doubt. But he also did campaign in Himachal as aggressively, and also in Karnataka, and we know the results. So we're focusing on these Hindi heartland states where in Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, if we're able to form governments here, it really will enthuse the India Alliance, the Congress workers, and 2024 Lok Sabha elections will be a different story. Don't forget, Vikram, in 2019, the Lok Sabha elections were fought under very unique circumstances. And I think that situation doesn't exist today. So we're the first to win state elections, get people's mandate. And I think 2024 elections, will be India Alliance for the taking. It's not going to be an easy election, but these state elections will certainly set the tone and narrative for the ensuing Lok Sabha elections next year.
Right, so last question. You were just now referring to the India Alliance, but I mean, there have been murmurings even within the India Alliance that entire alliance seems to have been put on the back burner while these state elections are on. Do you think those concerns are fair enough? Because the Congress has got other priorities. You've got to win these elections first. But is the Congress really committed to the India Alliance, and will you get back to worrying about it after December the 3rd?
100%. I think there's no doubt. There may be some speculations about some seat, some state, some party. But largely, I think we all understand the objective of the India Alliance coming together is not about occupying the position of power or getting a few seats to contest. It's about giving India an alternative. And India needs an alternative. Don't forget, a strong Congress means a strong India Alliance. And we are very sensitive to the aspirations and needs and sensitivities of our regional allies all over the country. They have a very important role to play. There will be some give and take. But I think we are going to start very soon negotiations for sharing the Lok Sabha seats. And don't forget that 2/3 of the votes cast in last Lok Sabha elections are from the India Alliance, and the NDA polled only 1/3 of the votes. So obviously it's a worrying sign for the BJP. But for the Congress also, it's important to prove in these one-to-one bipolar contests that we can win against the BJP, and that will strengthen the Congress and no doubt the India Alliance as we move on.
All right, Sachin Pilot, thank you for joining us from the campaign trail. Let me now go across to the national spokesperson of the BJP, Shazia Ilmi. Shazia, these are state elections, and some will wonder what's happened to all the BJP's faces in these states, whether it's Shivraj Singh Chauhan or Vasundhara Raje Scindia or even Raman Singh. They all seem to have been a little bit, the spotlight doesn't seem to be on them that much in these assembly elections, as perhaps it was last time around.
I think BJP has a problem of plenty, if you ask me, Vikram. If you look at the central leaders, the leadership right at the center, many of them have jumped into the electoral fray at the state level this time, as you know, as well as the state leaders and local leaders. Now, everybody buys into a common plan, a mission, which is a blueprint of development. It only gets better with a double engine ki sarkar, which is same government in power at the center and state. And a lot of people are beginning to see the advantage of that. If you just look at sheer numbers of what this means for people, how central welfare schemes have been implemented so successfully and across the states, you realize that there is a definite advantage there. Now, in Madhya Pradesh alone, we're looking at almost 1.5 crore, 1.4, it's say, the figures say, crore people being lifted out of abject poverty. Now, that is huge. Now, these are life-changing changes.
But those schemes,
water connections, gas connections, these, they matter. Now, Kamal Nath won, his government was there. Of course, he won by 2 seats. We had the same vote share last time, talking about 2018. Now, there was a whole issue about farmers. Now, look at where farmers are. Look at the Kisan Samman Nidhi. So I think in terms, when you look at the beneficiaries, when you look at the work of development, I think definitely it remains advantage BJP. And the major states, in the 3 states out of 5 that are going to polls, I would say that it is strictly between the Congress party and BJP. I see us sweeping Rajasthan. I see us winning again in Madhya Pradesh. And I see us making huge strides in Chhattisgarh.
All right, Shahja, if you take a look at those schemes that you were talking about, and I think you're completely right, those schemes do matter, they do matter electorally. But it has to be said that it's not only the BJP that is actually rolling out those schemes, right? So Ashok Gehlot has done schemes in Rajasthan, the BRS has done schemes in Telangana. So political parties will come out and say that, look, whoever is in power, there will be these schemes and it will make a difference.
They do, and in a way I'm happy about this competitive welfareism that there is, because this ensures that we have many more beneficiaries of the various schemes that the state should do. We also have to distinguish between good economics and bad economics, populism versus good economics, and we have to. BJP perhaps is the only party which has been able to balance that. So there are budgetary allocations and schemes that are thought through with a plan for them as to how the allocation will be done, as opposed to the reverie culture. Subsidize it all, win elections. So I think we have been very prudent where that is concerned. Yes, but even individually, if you look at all the schemes, let's say the Ladli Behan Yojana, you just see the huge work that has been done. Now compare this with the promises of, let's say, loan waiver in Rajasthan. Not happened. So if you were to go into details of it, the specifics of it, you'd realize that there's a PDS or delivery mechanisms. BJP has been very good in terms of administration and governance. That remains a big plus point. So I do see Prime Minister's vision kind of prevailing, whether it's a state level or local level. Yes, definitely.
All right, Shahja Almi, thank you so much for joining us with that view. We'll talk to you again after December the 3rd. Let's see what actually happens in the counting in all of these states. Thank you so much for being with us. And let's now quickly bring you up to date with our other regular segment. What is the global press saying about India this week?
Foreign Policy in its latest article reports that India's Adani Group has demonstrated resilience despite severe fraud allegations and new challenges. The conglomerate's ability to weather these storms is attributed to strategic decisions, including repaying loans and temporarily holding back on acquisitions to preserve revenue. Additionally, Adani's close ties with the Indian government, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, contribute to its steadfast position, the article goes on to say. In a surprising trend, companies in India producing everyday items like lunch boxes and pens have become investment darlings despite lacking tech or conglomerate glamour. The shift in investor sentiment, marked by a surge in IPOs, reflects a turn away from loss-making startups and a focus on firms with steady revenue growth and profitability. The Economist notes the IPO boom with 194 companies going public in 2023 and sees potential for sustained growth beyond India's upcoming general elections in May. Al Jazeera, in its report quoting experts, highlights widespread support in Kerala for Palestinians amid the Gaza conflict. The state's historical connections with West Asia, high education levels, and past support for global causes contribute to its solidarity. Political parties, also regardless of affiliation, have united against Israel's actions. The support extends beyond religious lines, reflecting Kerala's history of supporting international struggles. says Al Jazeera.
Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, let's turn our attention to that really, really big question that everyone in India is asking. The hopes of the nation riding on the cricket team, the anxiety, the stress, the fear factor. You have to be in India to really experience it, because India's in a World Cup final once again, and that is something that really matters in India. Why does it really matter? Well, we're going to be telling you that in a couple of minutes from now. But first, let's just set up the stage for this. Remember, two cricketing giants will now be colliding once again in the biggest game of them all, the World Cup final. In this clash of titans, the men in blue are set to rewrite history as they face the five-time champions at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. Now, this, of course, 2 decades after the heartbreak in Johannesburg in 2003, where India succumbed to the mighty Kangaroos. And so this is not just a match, it's a chance for redemption, a chance for revenge for 2003. The fans actually out there calling this very much a revenge clash. But really, I think what matters is lifting the World Cup trophy. Now, what does make the showdown even more thrilling is the reversal of roles. In 2003, Australia dominated with an impressive streak of 10 consecutive wins leading to the final. Cut to 2023, and it's India that's on an identical, remarkable winning spree with 10 victories under their belt leading to the final. The similarity, uncanny, and it adds a layer of excitement that only the cricketing gods could really script. Yes, it feels like deja vu, reminiscent of the 2003 finals, but this time the script has flipped. India with this team, India with this stellar performance, India with these 10 victories in a row, rightfully claim the tag of favourites. But in the world of cricket, one should never underestimate any opposition, and particularly if it's the Aussies. Hey, you were to ask me, you were to ask any Indian, would you be somewhat scared about facing the Australians in the final? And the answer would very clearly be yes, you'd be scared of it. Which is why I think so many Indians were cheering for the South Africans in the semi-final. You don't really want to face the Aussies in a grand clash, in a high-pressure situation. Because the Australians, well, they are no strangers to the grand stage. They are entering the record 8th World Cup final. Testament to their cricketing prowess. So the excitement, the tension, it's palpable all around. The hopes and the prayers of an entire nation rest on Team India's shoulders. Victory here will not just be a win, it will be the end of a long, long drought, a celebration that will, I think, echo in India's sporting history for years to come, and a celebration that we'll certainly be seeing out here if India does actually win the World Cup. Otherwise, all of us are going to be in a rather bad mood for a prolonged period of time, because this time we are actually expecting it. We are expecting India to win. All right, so what's going to actually be happening on Sunday? Well, let's just we have a panel of really great experts, special experts for you. Gulu Ezekiel is joining us, sports journalist and author. Dav Watmore's with us, of course, Australian cricketer, no stranger to the big stage. Also the person who has, in a sense, scripted heartbreak for India at one point. We will never forget, Dav, that 1996 semi-final. You were the coach of the Sri Lankan team that time. A toss that at a pitch that we will, I think, debate about at great length. So I'm going to get your views on all of that. Mudar Pathria is also joining us, former professional cricket writer, but he has a particular take on why cricket is so important in India that I would like to start with. Also, Digvijay Singh, WION Sport editor, is there in Ahmedabad and is going to be telling us all about it. But before I come to the rest of you, Mudar, let me just start with you. I said that the hopes and the fears and the anxiety of an entire nation rest on what happens in Ahmedabad on Sunday. And I know a lot of people will say, hey, it's just a game. Why do you guys in India get so exercised about a game of cricket? And I have to say, Mudar, I think you really expressed it very well in one of your recent articles, The Republican of Cricket, why cricket means so much to India. I'm just going to give you my take. Let me see how much of this you agree with. Cricket matters. Cricket matters because it's not just a sport. People will say it's a sport that only a handful of people play. But let's remember, cricket is now a sport that is the second most watched sport on this planet after football. So it's a big game, it's a big sport. And in India, it matters even more so because cricket is a way of uniting the entire country. When India plays cricket, and it's not just now, it's been the case for 20 years or 25 years or 30 years, it's a one time when all Indians get together. That's an important factor. And factor number 3, cricket has become a means which is a symbol of a rising India, an aspirational India. And you can see that from the people who are playing the sport and rising in that sport from every level. But with that, let me get you in on that point. Is cricket just a sport, or would a World Cup victory mean a lot more than just a victory in a sport?
Cricket is not a sport in India, it's a deen, it's a dharma. It's our existence. You know, you look at the individual, maybe a widow, living in rural India, in a remote little hamlet. Cricket is a part of her existence as well. It's a part of her identity because she identifies with the people, 11 people playing, and she feels that if they win, she has won. And I think there can be a no bigger statement. If a political party wins, it may not be her winning. But if the cricket team wins, that woman, anonymous, faceless, nameless, marginalized, disadvantaged, considers it to be the victory, a victory in her life. And I think that's why cricket is not just a sport. I would have called it a national opium. It's more than that. It's a deen and dharma and of this country, of a timeless civilization.
And with that, let's just add to that level of feeling. You know, it's a symbol of rising India, as I was just saying, the symbol of aspiration, as a thing that actually all 1.4 billion people get behind. You also have to look at the Indian cricket team itself, right? From Rohit Sharma, the number of, there used to be a time when cricket used to be the elite in Mumbai or Delhi who would be playing for India. Now it comes from everywhere. The people are going out there and playing. They represent every Indian because every Indian feels that they do have a chance to make it to that hallowed cricket team.
So, you know, it's not just the fact that the team is geographically dispersed, has been aggregated from differently dispersed geographical locations. There is one other element that most people miss. Most of the members of our cricket team have come from very struggling economic classes. Rohit Sharma, when he got a scholarship, he had to go for a free ship because he couldn't afford getting into a better school because of cricket prospects. The man is actually leading the Indian side today. And I think that Jasprit Bumrah, father passed away at a young age. Virat Kohli, father passed away at a young age. You name one cricketer who's actually not come from disadvantaged circumstances. And I think these are stories of grit. It's not just middle classness. It's middle class grit. It's our story. And I think that's where the association is. That it's not somebody else's story. It's not somebody who was a Nawab and, who probably came from a princely background. This is our story, the heartbeat of the largest middle class or middle income population in the world. And that's why cricket is more than a sport, it's a religion. Because it's us.
And it's also a symbol of unity, as I think you wrote in your article. Like, you look at it, religion doesn't matter, community doesn't matter, caste doesn't matter, region doesn't matter. When you see a Shami or a Siraj running up there and you see 80,000 or 140,000 people chanting their name, those factors, and actually it's not just now, it's always been the case. This is one area where all of those divisions and cleavages just don't matter. Not when it comes to cricket.
I agree. I think this is a glue. In fact, I won't even call it a glue. I'd call it a super glue. It holds the country together. It binds the country together. I'm just saying, and I'm being maybe a little, humorous here. If we were to be invaded, cricket and the army, these are the two great institutions that get India back on its feet in 10 minutes.
All right, as a symbol of unity. Well, now that you've set up the expectations, as if the expectation wasn't high enough, Mudar now making it clear that it's about a lot more than just a game. It's more than a sport. It's more than
national izzat, yaar. It's national izzat.
National izzat.
Nobel Prize winner comes out of India. It's good. But when we win in cricket, it's national. For that one day, or maybe 48 hours after we win this tournament, if we do, I think every Indian will walk at least 12 inches above the ground.
Okay, so
sabka height बढ़ जाएगा.
Okay, so is India going to walk 12 inches above the ground, or is there going to be, hanging heads when it comes to Monday? Let me start by throwing that question to Dab. Look, Dab, fond as I am of you, and it's great, we've admired you so much. This is one occasion where I hope that on Monday morning I'll have a smile on my face. I know you're going to be cheering for the Australian team, it's but natural. But who do you think is going to win?
No, that's quite clear to me. I've always said that I would not be surprised if India takes the trophy without losing a game right from the beginning, because man for man and the team that they had, despite that injury to Hardik Pandya, that team has got stronger, and they're playing the sort of cricket that is worthy of world champions, and it's getting stronger, it's getting bigger, it's getting better. And what I saw yesterday with the second semi-final, the team that earned its right to play on Sunday against India, I don't think there's going to be much petrol in the tank. Like they played their final on Friday, so on Thursday rather. So I'm pretty sure India will be winners, worthy winners.
In this country, I certainly hope you're right. I have to say that. I'm not going to pretend to be unbiased out here, which normally as a journalist I try to be, but it's very tough to be unbiased on this particular occasion. And I certainly hope you're right. But, never write off the Australians. We've seen where the Aussies have bounced back from, including, by the way, in this particular World Cup. Let's not forget, they were the bottom of the table after the first couple of matches, and then they're out there. Never write off the Australians, and there's some fantastic talent in that Australian team.
And they're no strangers to playing in finals, semi-finals and finals. That's a given, and you said that yourself in the intro, and we understand that. But I'm giving my subjective view on what I see, given the conditions that exist in India, particularly in Ahmedabad, and the lead up to this very important match. I think India for sure, and I think it may be a little early finish.
All right. As I said, I'm certainly going to hope you're right. Gulu, your take on this. Would you agree with what Dav said, that India do start off as overwhelming favourites, so all of us should dial down the anxiety levels that we are feeling, and that Mudar is just sort of whipped up a little bit further?
Yeah, Vikram, I mean, there's no question that after all, India has won 10 matches in a row, and all of them have been relatively facile victories. So when you look ahead to a match 24 hours or 48 hours before, you can say who is the favourite and who is not the favourite. But the point is, as Dav will know very well, it's a one-day match. It's not a test match. Whether it's 20 overs or 50 overs, in a one-day match, there's very little chance to come back and go on 50 overs. So it depends on the day, how the players react to the pressure, what the conditions are, who wins the toss, the pitch, the weather. There are so many variables which we can, sit around and discuss till the cows come home. But once the toss is done and once the players on the field, whether you've won 9 matches in a row, or 10 matches, or 3 matches, or 5 matches, or whatever the past records of the players, is irrelevant.
Okay.
So if you say favourite, yes, India favourite. But if you say, dial down the tension and let's kind of take it for granted. I mean, nothing can be taken for granted. I know you didn't say that in so many words, but there'll always be butterflies in the stomach.
Yeah, and I tell you why those butterflies in the stomach come. The butterflies in the stomach come because we know that it can be a bad period of play. 12 balls that go wrong, half an hour, one bad half an hour session, and that's it. That dream can go away. It's happened in the past, which is the reason why all of us, I think, get stressed about it. But Digvijay Singh, you're now there, WION Sports editor, live from Ahmedabad. Tell me, we heard about the conditions, we heard about the atmosphere. There are going to be 130,000 people in that stadium behind you. Obviously a lot of pressure, a lot of crowd support. What are you also hearing about things like the pitch and the conditions?
Well, I think just drove in here, so I can already see the enterprising Gujarati, outside the main gate of the stadium, the India jerseys, most of them Virat, they said selling their flags. All that is happening. The Indian team about to come in for an optional practice session as well. But just talking about the conditions, I was here for the Pakistan game. And I told this to Dav, and he can sort of back me up on this. And I told him that if India get to the final, I don't see India losing, simply because when 130,000 people start making a lot of noise, then it gets very unnerving. We saw Pakistan, Vikram, go from 155 for 2 to 191 all out. That's just because suddenly when Babar got out, that crowd got on its feet. Hardik Pandya played the bandmaster. So all those factors come in. What sort of impresses me about the way India have played, I always thought, like everyone else, that semi-final was crucial. That's where India have sort of fallen by the wayside. But the way they approach that semi-final tells me that their preparation has been right. When you go, we've covered this World Cup extensively. When you look at this World Cup across the other teams, the way India have prepared for this World Cup, no other team has, and that's why they're in the final. Australia have won 8 straight, but they haven't put together a very convincing performance. Even the game against South Africa, there was a point where Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc were there, and we thought, hang on, South Africa are winning this. So India just need to turn up and do what they've been doing well. And as Dav says, it could be an early finish.
All right, let me just ask you about the pitch, because sometimes pitches do make a big difference. There are times when a pitch doesn't matter. What are you hearing? Turning track, will India go in with that same 11 as they've been playing all this time? Or do they think, Australia, maybe some weakness against spin, let's get in Ashwin?
Yes, that's exactly what Dav and I were talking last night, but we don't think that India are going to change their 11. This is the team, they've stuck together. The point for them to change that 11 was against Netherlands, which was effectively a dead rubber, but they still played their 11, and that's what both Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma said. That this is the team we believe will win the World Cup and we'll go all out. As far as the pitch goes, there are 2 pitches over here. And there was a lot of controversy about the pitch, but I don't think the Indians care too much right now. We'll know from them once they come in here in about an hour what they're going to select. But there was a lot of talk about the Mumbai pitch sort of being a used pitch. They still got 700 runs in that game, with India scoring 398. I just think that India, across all positions, they've got a very good batting lineup, and the roles are clearly defined. Dav will be able to elaborate more on that. And the bowling has been spot on. Even a day where someone like a Bumrah, for the first time in this tournament, goes for runs, you have others chipping in, especially someone like a Shami.
All right, Digvijay, we'll watch that. Dav, do you think the pitch really going to make a difference, or not too much?
It can do.
It's going to be like 1996, where for some bizarre reason, which you must have been very happy about as a coach, India decided to chase.
Yeah, I mean, that pitch in 96 in Kolkata was a beautiful looking straw-coloured pitch. And for all intents and purposes, you had to bat first on that. So we were, extremely lucky.
What do you think is going to happen in the pitch here? And what would you say, bat first, bowl first?
Yeah, in Ahmedabad, there's a red clay and there's a black clay, depending on which way they go. The red one tends to sort of spin a little bit more. The black clay is a little bit more softer and sort of placid, very little for bowlers. So I think it may be on red, but we'll have to wait and see. It doesn't really matter, I think, in this case.
Doesn't really matter. Gulu, would you agree with that? Does it matter? Does it really matter in this game who wins the toss? Is it a turning track or not a turning track? And would you make any changes to the Indian team at all, or just stick with what's working well?
Again, as far as the Indian team is concerned, one factor is that we are on a winning combination and a massive streak. So perhaps they don't want to change the winning combination. But not being in Ahmedabad myself and not having seen the conditions and obviously not seen the pitch, it will have to come down to the team management on the morning of the match or perhaps the day before to decide whether to include one extra bowler, a spinner or not. So I think that's a 50-50 call. The concern is that with 5 specialist bowlers and no backup, if one bowler has an off day or heaven forbid gets injured, then it's going to be very difficult to complete the quota. So that may be, with Hardik's injury, obviously we lost that balance. That may be one factor, but I mean, sitting here, I feel that we'll go with the winning combination.
All right, Mudar, last word for us as we look forward to what's going to be a lot of drama, a lot of tension, possibly a lot of heartbreak, and if not, then lots and lots of celebration.
I remember speaking to Mike Horn in 2011 after we had won the 2011 World Cup. And he said he had worked with the Indian team in mental conditioning. But there was one seminal moment when he felt that the Indian team would win. So I said, which was the moment? He says, when they decided that they did not want to see the pitch at the Wankhede on the morning of the match. That seminal moment, he knew that this is a team that's going to win, because the team had concluded that it was irrelevant. The same pitch that would be given to them would be given to the other team. And effectively, both were on a level playing field. Sorry for the pun. But effectively, it meant that give us any condition and we'll make the most of it. Whatever it takes, WIT, whatever it takes, we'll win. So effectively, this thing about pitch, composition, team composition, conditions, effectively are available and they are applicable to both sides. Right. So for me, it is irrelevant.
I think that's a really good way to sum it up. Win on all counts, and hey, let's face it, this is not an Indian team that requires spin or a pitch that is turning. I mean, the real bowling strength.
Absolutely.
After all that we heard about that pitch in Mumbai, Shami took 7 wickets. And how many wickets did a spinner take in that? So go in there and win no matter what the pitch is. And that's certainly, I'm going to leave it here on that note on this episode of the India Story. Hopefully next week we'll be back here on the India Story, reporting on lots and lots and lots of celebrations all across India after Sunday evening. And I will buy you a drink in case in case India does win. It's not Australia, so we will help you in drown that sorrow.
Thank you, Vikram.
But thank you so much for having been here. That's all we have time for on this episode of the India Story. But we'll be back again next week. Do join us then.
Israel woke up to a barrage of thousands of rockets fired from the Gaza Strip.